Dangote Refinery industry got flamed in Lagos. You recall 2 weeks ago, Dangote complained that the people of the West do not want the refinery to progress.
I don't believe if the West want us to progress in terms of industrialization. Industrialization is something that is the basic that we need. We need to produce what we consume. But I don't think if there's any support coming from the West.
You are welcome to the Mirror TV. We offer you news, local, national and international, on politics, religious and socio-cultural events, project work documentary, live documentary and lot more. Contact us today and do not forget to subscribe to our channel so as to get our updates on daily basis. The management of Dangote Refinery said it's a tissue paper fire, that the fire had nothing to do with the company. Meanwhile, an investigative journalism, Hundayin, described the fire and said it is actually a fire outbreak in the industry. Listen to him.
No further details have been given, so it's kind of difficult to establish exactly how a wastewater treatment facility can go up in flames to that extent, especially when eyewitnesses made mention of there being sounds of explosions. So, but we have to assume that the company is telling the truth. Now, if the company is not telling the truth and there is something else at play here, i.e. sabotage, then definitely that is something to be worried about, because for the avoidance of doubt, it definitely is in some people's interests for the refinery to not work, if indeed it had the capacity to work, because historically it's been the case that as far as the economic model of Nigeria and Africa is concerned, some people prefer very much for Nigeria and Africa to export raw materials with as little beneficiation as possible, if possible, no beneficiation locally whatsoever. So the business model of Nigeria historically has been to export raw materials, so export crude oil, export gas, export solid minerals, export agricultural products, and that's it, with as little local beneficiation as possible, at least as far as the global market is concerned. So with that context in mind, it definitely does raise some questions that is there some sort of foul play involved here, especially as Dangote himself has come out recently to make accusations that the international oil companies active in Nigeria are actively seeking to sabotage the refinery by ensuring that it's not able to source its feedstock locally, and it has to import crude oil from as far afield as the US, and support from the government was being sought. There have been rumors that there was an issue with the plant's insurance policy, that apparently Lloyd's of London was approached and they declined to insure it. Again, these are just sort of back channel things that one hears, and these are sort of unverified pieces of information. So that has to be emphasized, that none of this is like documented facts, at least not in the public domain. But there are whispers about things like this, that the fact that the plant was built almost entirely using Indian technology, using Indian expertise and Indian labor, has had some sort of an impact on the difficulty in sourcing adequate insurance to keep the plant running. And if that were the case, that the plant is not insured, or the insurance policy were not to cover this sort of damage due to whatever reason, then we potentially could be looking at a situation where, without making accusations, just putting the different pieces of the picture together, you have a situation where something that is supposed to be a transformational piece of economic infrastructure in Nigeria, because on its own, this refinery is supposed to be able to satisfy Nigeria's entire local energy demand. And you then have something that basically has the capacity to cripple this thing, or at least postpone its takeoff date, because to date, even though apparently it's producing jet fuel and diesel for the export market, the main thing, which I guess we've all looked forward to for more than a decade since this refinery project was first announced, is the production of PMS, petrol, for the Nigerian market. That still hasn't happened. Bear in mind, this site was commissioned, I think, on May 26th, a few days before President Buhari left office. This is well over a year now, and we're still yet to see any sign of any petrol. I have obviously been a public critic of this in the past, because I have publicly stated on more than one occasion that this plant was commissioned when it was not ready, and it's nowhere close to being ready. But, putting that aside, it's also the case that it definitely is in my interest as a Nigerian, it's in our interest as Nigerians for the plant to work, because the more Nigeria is able to export things that have had some beneficiation and doesn't need to import wastewater, finished products as much facility, Nigeria will become economic. So questions do need to be asked, and the company obviously is being very secretive about this. The issue, I think, first of all, that there are discrepancies in the story that has been told by eyewitnesses and the story that is told in the statement released by the company. Because again, wastewater treatment facility, wastewater treatment facility. Basically, it's a paper box fire in toilet, essentially. But the eyewitnesses said that they heard explosions on the site, and clearly a wastewater treatment tells you that this is facility, or there's nothing minor about that fire. So what exactly? And this is a refinery site. So, if you're telling me that a fire is happening at a refinery site, but it had nothing to do with the flammable substances that are on site at a refinery, and it's the wastewater plant that went up, and you're offering no further detail, you're being very evasive, very tersely worded statements, and then the week before this happened, literally the week before this happened, your managing director, I think his name is Edwin, has been on a media tour, has been doing the press circuit, directly accusing international oil companies of trying to sabotage this refinery. Well, it may be a case of putting 2 and 2 together and getting 22, right? It might be that the company is telling the truth, but the onus is actually on the company at this point to come out and offer more information, because the fact is that the Nigerian people, via the NNPC and the government, have invested a lot into this project. So the company cannot then act as if, well, this is a private business, you're not entitled to any information about this. Meanwhile, so much public money and public expectation has gone into the building of this thing. If you're happy to take public money and make this project almost a political thing when it was being developed, then you have to be willing to accept scrutiny now. So we need more information. I'll start with what I hope to see. What I hope to see is that it somehow, against all the odds, starts operating and starts to satisfy the local petrol demand of Nigeria, because that is one of the main sources of sort of the forex leakage that Nigeria has to deal with. Nigeria is very much an import-oriented economy, not because Nigeria does not have the capacity to produce and export, but because, again, as I said, historically, it's been the case that those in charge of the global markets have the belief that the place of Africa is to export raw materials with no beneficiation whatsoever. So what I hope to see is that this refinery and the associated petrochemical projects affiliated to it make it such that Nigeria is able to actually exploit its own vast, cheap energy reserves and actually start to industrialize. That's what I hope to see. But what is more likely to happen in the short term, I think the company is going to keep obfuscating, and I think they're going to keep on releasing statements every 3 days, every 5 minutes, telling people we're going to start doing this next week, next month, and it just keeps getting bumped up next month and a month after that and a month after that. Because if you recall, in May 2023, we were told categorically that before the end of June 2023, there will be locally refined petrol in Nigeria's markets, where nearing the end of June 2024, that absolutely has not happened. No explanation has been volunteered. Just more arbitrarily set deadlines, and then this, which I suspect could possibly be used as an excuse to postpone that self-imposed deadline again. So I think that's what's likely to happen. I hope the company decides to do something different and just come clean.
What is your take? Do you think that this Dangote Refinery industry can still function? Recall that last year it was announced that it's going to start working before December. Till date, it has not started working. What is happening in Nigeria? Drop your comment at the comment section. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and drop your comment now.